Hey nerds, Alex here from Nerds Being Geeks, and I want to talk about one of the biggest sets to ever come out for GLC. Ironically, it's called Mega Evolution. And why is that ironic? Because you can't even play Mega Pokemon in the Gym Leader Challenge format. So what is the Gym Leader Challenge format? It's an alternative way to play the Pokemon trading card game. But here's a few rules. It's a monotype. Only one type of Pokemon in your deck. So think of a gym leader. Blaine has only fire type Pokemon. Misty has water type Pokemon. It's a singleton format. Only one copy of each card is allowed, besides basic energy. So it's kind of like the Commander format for Magic the Gathering. No rule box cards allowed. That includes GX, EX, V, VMAX, V-Star, Radiant, A-Specs, Prism Star, and Megas. And the card pool is from the black and white to the current set. I just want to take a second before we start the video. I know it's been a few weeks, but I want to give a shout out to Justin Basil. Justin recently passed away, and he was an incredible resource and presence in the Pokemon TCG community. For all of my GLC videos and translations, I would use justinbasil.com. And I used it for this video as well. I'm not quite sure if anyone is taking over his website. Some cards I pulled were proxied, other cards just have text written on the side. But it's just kind of a final little tribute and thank you to what Justin did for the community. So I'd like to start the GLC set review with the Pokemon. And I'm going to start with Meganium. Meganium has this incredible ability that looks very familiar to what we previously have in the format. Wild Growth. Each basic grass energy attached to your Pokemon provides double grass energy. You can't apply more than one Wild Growth ability at a time. This is exactly like the Venusaur that sees a lot of play with its Jungle Totem ability. However, this Meganium is better in almost every single way. Yeah, it has the same HP at 160, but its attack does 140 damage compared to Venusaur's 90 damage. Its retreat cost is only 2 compared to Venusaur's 4. And let's face it, the artwork is much better than the Venusaur that we have. I think this Jungle Totem Venusaur is on its way out and being replaced with the Meganium. I also want to give a quick shout out to the Chikorita from this set. 70 HP, so it is Buddy Poffin searchable, and with 70 HP, it means that it's out of the range of that easy snipe from Raging Bolt. Now I don't know if this Celebi is gonna get any play. I thought it was interesting. So for 1 grass energy, time travel, search your deck for up to 3 in any combination of grass Pokemon and stadium cards. Reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. That Celebi could see some play with that grabbing a stadium, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. Unfortunately, the HP is 80, so it is not Buddy Poffin searchable. Moving on to the lightning type. Yeah, I still miss Amazing Rare Raikou, so this is me coping and trying to fit Raikou back into GLC. For 2 lightning energy, you got Electric Fall, 30 damage. If you have at least 4 lightning energy in play, this attack does an extra 90 more damage. That's pretty easy when you have the Dynamotor abilities to get some of that energy from your discard pile onto your bench. So with that type of acceleration, you can definitely get this 120 for 2 fairly easy. But I don't think it's a good card. I just wanted to show it off because I miss Amazing Raikou so much. We do have a Pachirisu with Electrified Incisors. 10 damage during your opponent's next turn. Whenever they attach an energy card from their hand to the defending Pokemon, place 8 damage counters on it. Interesting move. I think we've seen this before. It's just brutal if that defending Pokemon cannot get out of the active for any reason, but it's GLC. There's a ton of switch cards. There's retreating, scoop up nets. There's a bunch of different things to get it out of the active. Will it always happen? No. You might be able to pull this off, or they just might not attach to the active that turn and just leave it. Just something I wanted to show off, but do I think it's good? Probably not. It's probably not going to see much play. Lightning is packed with really good Magnezone cards. So we have 1 Lightning Energy Upper Spark, 50 damage. If this Pokemon evolved from Magneton during this turn, this attack does 120 more damage. So that's 170 damage for 1. Not too bad. It's pretty good. And then for a Lightning Flashing Bolt, 160 damage. This Pokemon can't use Flashing Bolt during your next turn. So if you're able to keep them alive, evolve at the right turn, you can do 170 and then 160 the next turn. And then he's most likely going to get knocked out. But I think there's probably better Magnezones in the format. But I just wanted to show this off because of how low the attacking cost is. 1 energy and then 2 energy. It's pretty good, especially for Lightning. Alright, let's talk about these Spoon Boys. I want to point out the Psychic Draw ability on Kadabra. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve your Pokemon during your turn, you may draw 2 cards. And then you bring in Alakazam with the same ability, except instead of drawing 2, you draw 3. Now Alakazam does have this hand power attack for 1 Psychic. Put 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each card in your hand. You just drew 5. You can play depending on where you're at in the game, Judge, Marnie, Iono, and you can do stuff like Kirlia to get another card. I'm thinking full bench and using Colress. There are ways to get your hand size pretty large. However, I don't think this is going to be a good card. I don't think it's going to see a ton of action. Also, we have Xerneas. Second attack is trash, but I want to talk about Geogate. Search your deck for up to 3 basic Psychic Pokemon and put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. It's a really great starter to get them onto the bench and not just your hand. Outside of starting this Pokemon, it's not very good. So outside of Grass, I think Fighting is probably the type that's going to see the biggest impact from this set. And one of the reasons are these 2 cards. Mostly the Lunatone and its ability. Once during your turn, if you have Soul Rock in play, you may discard a basic Fighting Energy from your hand. In order to use this ability, draw 3 cards. You can't use more than 1 Lunar Cycle ability each turn. Okay. I got my fucking cheeks roasted in Discord because I said I was on the fence about this Pokemon and its abilities. You have to get 2 Pokemon that aren't Buddy Poffin searchable onto your bench. You also have to have the energy in hand. And these guys are pretty squishy at 110 HP. When people talk about like card trade, so you gotta think about like, okay, well, I have to get 2 basics onto my bench and have an energy in my hand. So that's 3 cards for 3 cards. And like I said, I got tore up in Discord because outside of that reasoning, I play the Hitmonbras combo with the Ogidogi and Tyranitar, Team Rocket's Tyranitar. There's no room for this, and it doesn't make sense. The deck doesn't need it. I also have built the Earthquake build, which I might update it for this. Once I saw it in action on Tricky Jim's stream, I was like, oh wow, this is seeing a lot of play in this matchup. I am leaning towards that it is good, but I'm still not 100% sold on. I just have to see more builds around it. So the Soul Rock from the set, for 1 fighting energy, Cosmo Beam, 70 damage. If you don't have Lunatone on your bench, this attack does nothing. 1 for 70 is really good, but you have to have Lunatone on the bench. So if they snipe it, this card is basically worthless. And you don't have to pair it with this Soul Rock, but it has to get paired with any type of Soul Rock. So 1 energy for 70 is pretty good. So what Tricky Jim did was pair that Lunatone with the Gargonackle with energizing Rock Salt. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic fighting energy card from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. If you attach an energy card to a Pokemon in this way, heal 30 damage from that Pokemon. So you can kind of see the cycle here. Discard, get to draw 3, accelerate the energy you just discarded, also heal that Pokemon. You can kind of see how this is going. It worked really well on Tricky Jim's stream. I think it's definitely going to see some play. Speaking of gargling knackles, so this Gargonackle has the ability Power Salt. Attacks used by your fighting Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And then Hammering for 3 energy does 130. I mean, an extra 30 damage is really good, and you can pair it with a few other items, especially that are coming, but also things like Grant that does another 30. You can really add that damage up. But with what we saw with the other Gargonackle that accelerates the energy, this one probably won't see that much play. So there is a Marshadow in this set for 2 fighting Shadow Kick. 60 damage if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack. Prevent all damage from the effects and attacks done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So you get a knockout with this, you're basically invulnerable for your turn. At least Marshadow is. They can, Boss or Escape Rope or Guzma, any type of switching option to get you out of the active, they'll probably do it. But invulnerable can kind of slow your opponent down for sure. Speaking about bossing something up, this new Hariyama is a really interesting ability. This Pokemon has the Heavy Catch ability. This Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon. During your turn, you may switch in your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active. 3 fighting energy, Wild Press. Does 210 damage, but it does 70 damage to itself. I think how we're seeing fighting develop, I don't know if this will see much play. However, it is a very strong Pokemon with a very good ability that allows you to still use your supporter for turn. And 210 damage is something to think about. And if you want to keep it buddy poppin' searchable, this Makihata is the only one that has 70 HP. Alright, moving on to colorless. We have this new Gumshoe with a very familiar ability. Gather evidence. Once during your turn, you may use this ability. Switch a card from your hand with the top card of your deck. Now we've seen this ability on Oranguru, who has seen some play in Gym Leader Challenge. Alright, get your head out of the gutter. This Lopunny has an attack that could be pretty good for colorless spread decks. Leaping Kick. This attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. 50 snipe isn't exactly a ton, but it could really get that chip damage that you might need later. We're moving on to water, and we have this Clawitzer with the reverse and reload ability. Once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from the active spot to your bench, you may use this ability, attach up to 2 basic water energy cards from your hand to this Pokemon. And it has Aqua Launcher for 210. There's that 210 again. Discard all energies from this Pokemon. 210's a lot, like I was just saying, and I would think you would see this in, they call it a lo-fi water build, so low energy attackers. What I was thinking is you would have this guy and then you would switch him out to Palafin with Justice Kick. If this Pokemon didn't move from the bench to the active spot this turn, this attack does nothing. And look at that, another 210. So I'm thinking of like a lot of switching low energy attacking water build. Could be fun. All right, I want to move on to stadiums. I want to talk about Surfing Beach, which goes perfectly with the water Pokemon we were just talking about. Once during each player's turn, that player may switch their active water Pokemon with one of their benched water Pokemon. Really great way to get those Pokemon in and out of the active, hit the 210 and get out of there, or activate the 210. And it's also a way that you could keep Frostmoth in play because you're switching and you're not retreating. So you could switch out and then hit the energy with Frostmoth onto the bench to the Pokemon you just put there, and then retreat it back into the active if you need to. Really great pivot, and I feel like this is kind of where that water deck will be going. We also have Dangerous Ruins. Whenever either player puts a non-dark basic Pokemon onto their bench, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. I don't know if this will see a ton of play, but I'm thinking like the Dark Spread or the Team Rocket Sneasel that does more damage for the amount of damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. All right, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Forest of Medium Plants. We have Lush Forest. Each player's grass Pokemon can evolve into another grass Pokemon during the turn that they play those Pokemon. Players can't evolve a Pokemon during their first turn. All right, so I don't know if that's the translation. That sounds weird. It didn't really roll off the tongue, but it is basically Forest of Giant Plants that was banned in GLC very early on within the format. Each player's grass Pokemon can evolve during his or her first turn or the turn he or she plays those Pokemon. So Lush Forest allows you to, you can't do it turn 1, but on turn 2, Turtwig on the bench, instantly evolve it that turn into Grotto, use Sun-Drenched Shell, get everything you need, get Torterra, evolve again, and now you're swinging. This card broke Discord. So many debates. I thought it was going to be an instant ban before it even sees the light of day. Now, Tricky Jim, at the time of recording, and when this card came out, he said he's going to let it ride because he's considered letting Forest of Giant Plants be unbanned. He says grass needs the help, and I kind of agree with him. Grass is, I wouldn't even say it's a top 5 type in GLC anymore, and something like this could bring it back within that top 5. I really hope this card stays. I feel like we constantly see the same top 3 types over and over again, and I think this will just allow grass to be more competitive. I say keep it. Let me know your thoughts. All right, so fighting outside of grass was the real winner of this set. So for item cards, we have Premium Power Pro. I think everyone's just calling it Powerade. During this turn, attacks used by your fighting Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. I mean, you do this with Strong Energy, that's 50 more damage. Oh, there's that Garganacl that does your fighting Pokemon do another 30. What is that, 80 more damage? Oh, you could play Grant, another 30 damage. This is going to allow fighting to hit some bigger numbers for sure. Yeah, this set is nuts for fighting, because you're also getting Fighting Gong. Search your deck for a basic fighting Pokemon or a basic fighting energy card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. This is Fog Crystal for fighting. This might take the place of Team Magma's Great Ball that was allowing people to search out a fighting energy, but these two items are going to be staples in every fighting deck. I think fighting within this set got a bigger boost than Grass did, even with the Lush Forest Stadium, but I think this is fighting set. So let's move on. There's also Suspicious Clock. De-evolve one of your evolved psychic Pokemon by returning any number of evolution cards on it to your hand. You can't evolve it this turn. Thought this was an interesting card. It's basically de-evolution just for psychic. Let me know what this could be used for. I don't know. Thought it was interesting. Repel. Switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench. Your opponent chooses the new active Pokemon. Could be pretty good when, you know, they only have like supporter Pokemon, or they only have one other Pokemon on the bench. This is basically essentially like a boss's orders in that sense, and it still allows you to use a supporter for turn. Dang, Metal gets thick. Metal has another damage reduction item, tool, trainer, whatever you want to call it. Iron Defender. During your opponent's next turn, all of your Metal Pokemon take 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon after applying weakness and resistance. So what else does Metal have? Metal Goggles. It's a tool that when it's attached, the Pokemon that it's attached to takes 30 less damage. There's Metal Frying Pan, which does the exact same thing. Your Metal Pokemon that this card is attached to takes 30 less damage. Metal Core Barrier. The Pokemon this card is attached to takes 70 less damage this turn. However, you have to discard it at the end of your opponent's turn. Full Metal Lab. Metal Pokemon, both yours and your opponent, take 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. What? And then there's also, what, Crystal Cave that lets you heal 30 damage from your Metal Pokemon. This Iron Defender is an item. Most of those are tools or stadiums. So, I mean, you could be doing a reduction of the tool 30, the item 30, and the stadium 30. That's 90 damage. Let's move on to supporters. I want to talk about this silly boy, Lieutenant Surge's Bargain. Ask your opponent if both players may draw a prize card. If yes, both players draw a prize card. If no, you get to draw 4 cards. Very silly, very fun, perfect for a casual league, but I think it could be a fun card among your friends to play. All right, let's talk about one of the probably the most impactful card in the whole set, Lily's Determination. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. If you have exactly 6 prize cards remaining, draw 8 cards instead. So it's basically a Cynthia, but better. 8 cards is insane. A fresh new hand of 8 cards is crazy. I already play Cynthia in all of my decks, and I probably will continue to play Cynthia in my decks, but I'm going to find room for Lily's Determination. This is going to be probably the most impactful supporter since GLC has been created. I've heard some talk of people just getting rid of Cynthia altogether. I personally don't play Professor's Research. I would put this in the place of Professor's Research and keep both Cynthia and Lily's Determination. I just don't think it can be stressed enough how important this card is. It is going to be in every deck. No doubt everyone is going to be playing this card. All right, I just want to give a quick shout out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking to the end. Is there a card from the set that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. Why don't you just haymaker that subscribe button for me? Go ahead and follow me on Instagram as well at Nerds Being Geeks. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you later.